say this. He says to her, "You got it." I'm like, "Well, hold on a minute, it's my dress." My son gave this to me, so it's not happening. I'm a overall generous person. He brought this back
good grief. I believe we're ready to proceed. So I believe our remaining panel are in place. So at this point, convener Charles Barron, will you open this up, please?
Thank you very much. Let's give all ourselves a big hand clap for getting through this in a mighty, mighty way and paying close attention to what's going on in this part of the world. And just by way of agenda, before I go back to New York, I just want to let everybody know what will be happening for the day. The judges will have questions for the last witness, and then the moderator will come and take over from here. There will be a statement from the amicus brief. There'll be a closing statement from Brother Chokwe Lumumba. The judges will then deliberate, and after the deliberations, there'll be a preliminary findings, then the judiciary commentaries, and then the closing statements from the conveners. That's how we're going to flow for today, and I just wanted to take a moment to make mine now, because I do have to go back to New York City in another hour or so. But I just want to say this has been a mind-opening experience for me, and this is one of the tribunals that I think something positive, something effective is going to come out of it, because Lord knows if verbiage was going to liberate us, we would have been free long time ago. But I think some action is going to take place. I do want to mention that in New York City, some of the Katrina and Rita survivors did come. I don't know if they're still here, but they did travel here. If any of them are here, they could acknowledge themselves. But back in New York City, Sister Brenda Stokely and Brenda Walker are doing great work with Katrina survivors. We had about 2,000 in New York City in hotels all over the place, and we successfully got a lot of them either back home or in homes in New York City. And I have to give credit to the masses of New York City, because these were people who were unemployed and homeless themselves, and they allowed us to prioritize the survivors of Katrina. So give my New Yorkers a big hand clap. So I just have these few commentaries, and then I'm finished. You know, some of the testimony, we heard a lot of testimony, whether it was from culture, education, housing, and I'm sure Chokwe will wrap that up. But the most moving testimony for me was the actual visit to the 9th Ward, and then Brother Malik's testimony. So I just want to say 2 minutes on that. Brother Malik, when he testified, one of the moving things he said was that he was on death row, and that he also had shootouts with police, and he visited Iraq, but none of that prepared him for what happened after Katrina. And I think that was compelling when he said that, because we're looking at a moment in our history where we must draw the line in the sand. If we can't get excited, if we can't do something about this situation, then I don't know what it's going to take to really wake us up. The second thing was my 2 visits to the 9th Ward. Honesty compels me to say that the second visit, when I saw the rains coming down, and I started looking at the manhole and the water coming up, I thought we might be better off looking at Brother Malik's tape right here in the hall. But there were some brave justices that said, let's move ahead. One of them, even though her shoes were going to get messed up, I won't let you know who it is, but she was very concerned about her shoes, and she sacrificed her shoes to go to the 9th Ward. Let's give our justice a big hand clap. I'm not going to mention her name, because I would never put anybody on the spot like that. So we're very, very proud of her. But in my first visit to the 9th Ward, one of the moving moments for me, I did get a chance to go, I think it's Florida Street or Florida Avenue, to travel down there, and there was a rock that I stood on where you could look over the levee and actually see the water that was still and also see the community. And looking at that, my heart went out for my people, just to imagine that the roar of the water that night or that morning, that it actually came up, and then I could actually see where it breached and went over, and then to be followed by a barge, a flat boat too. And that would only bring more force and more water to be able to imagine someone in their home. You know, when you intellectualize it, it's one thing. But to imagine being in a home where you see some water come like that and then a huge boat coming and then looking at a ghost town, you know, it's almost like we were hunted like rabbits. We were hunted like rabbits by the wind and the water of Katrina. We were hunted like rabbits by the mercenaries that Brother Malik talked to us about. We were hunted like rabbits by FEMA and Bush and the state and the city, who really want to turn New Orleans into a capitalistic profit-making center like Disney World or something. We were hunted like rabbits when they just stopped us from coming back into public housing. And that hunting us like rabbits, led me to the most profound quote that I heard, and that was from Brother Malik, when he said, "It ain't no fun when the rabbit got a gun." So even though we were hunted like rabbits, and we got to get a gun, and I believe that this information is a weapon. It could be our gun to go all across this nation, all across the world, for the international representatives. We got to take that gun, and whatever form that gun is in, whether it's information, whether it's something physical, but we got to be rabbits that are armed with a gun so that we could shoot back with information or whatever else you have. But we have to protect ourselves whenever the government has decided not to. So that's what I'm going to take back to New York City. There's a purpose. There's hope for this. I believe that we got to make sure that we make the point, we make the case. We didn't want to come here just to hear the stories of pain and misery, but we want to make a clear case against the government. I think we've made that. We got to continue to put the information together so that when we leave here, there'll be no doubt in anyone's mind that this was the greatest crime since slavery committed against humanity, and that this government will be indicted. And I don't care what Cynthia McKinney says, I want to be the one to make the citizens' arrest of George Bush and the rest. I'll let her hang out with me, but God bless y'all. Y'all stay strong, and I'm going to head back to New York and so we can get a bigger bite of the apple and take care of our business back there. Thank you very much, and God bless you.
I would respectfully ask that this tribunal, the judges, take our convener's remarks and place them in the position of amicus statements. And I would also respectfully submit that the message that I had read yesterday from Daniel Glickstein also be placed in that appropriate category. It is my understanding that you have some additional questions of our last witness.
That's correct. That's correct. Could you please have the witness return to the stand?
Okay.
Do you want me to swear in again?
No, we'll consider the witness to still be under oath.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Good morning.
Good morning. Okay, I think some of our judges had questions. Let me turn. Yes, Ms. Argentoro.
Just a couple of questions. You said that something about knew and didn't do anything with Caucasian people who stood in hospitals. What did you mean by that?
Well, a lot of the doctors, there was a young lady would have came down to testify, but she got ill when she came down Wednesday and got caught in the rain. But at a lot of the hospitals, a lot of the white doctors and nurses stood, and when they treated them like we're used to them treating us, then I knew it was going to be a disaster.
Okay. So they were treating white patients the same way they were treating black patients?
No, they were treating white doctors and the nurses that stood behind, not coming to rescue them or bringing them food. So when I seen that they didn't care for their own, I knew we didn't stand a chance.
Okay. You talked about case managers had their own clientele plus survivors. Was that caseworkers with the means to recovery? I'm not sure what caseworkers.
Well, what the means to recovery did, especially in Jackson, Red Cross did not have any case managers, so they contract their service with Lutheran, Salvation Army, Catholic Charities, United Way, and so they paid the agency something, but the case managers did not get any additional money to take on such a load like this. So therefore, they refused to even let us know that this money existed, and Red Cross knew about it and did nothing. So we didn't even know that money was there for us.
Okay. The means to recovery was a program through the Red Cross?
Yes, Red Cross had received $175 million in recovery money. They divided it up into 3 different segments. 1 for immediate recovery, 2 for access to care. That's anybody suffering from post-traumatic stress can go anywhere to get help. But the stumbling block to that was that most caretakers said that the process of getting their money from Red Cross was too long. So whenever you went to people to receive service, they refused you, or you had to come up with $300 yourself.
Okay, I want to just clarify some of my notes on this. And you said that there was just money for your car?
Well,
let me just say, was the money for anything, or was it just for certain items? Could you get money for anything?
Well, I have the breakdown here, and I need it back. But the breakdown, it's on a Red Cross. It's actually a Red Cross memo to the case manager. And the breakdown had to do with each family can proceed no more than $20,000 per household. You had $5,000 for occupational needs. You had $7,500 for furniture, and $10,000 for personal or living need, or $10,000 for health needs, but it could not exceed $20,000. Now, my personal need was a car, and the most that they would give you was $10,000. Because I kind of spread the word around, they denied me to give me anything.
Well, I understood that. I just needed to get the clarification on what the money was for. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Você disse também que a sua casa tinha seguro e você recebeu.
You mentioned as well that your home had insurance and that you received.
Você acredita que mais pessoas, muita gente ou pouca gente que também tinha seguro? Você informa?
Are there a lot of people in a similar situation who would have this home insurance?
The individuals that I have dealt with, I would say about out of 100, maybe 3 has home insurance. The rest of them do not. They were renters, and they did not have the money.
I had a question for you, ma'am.
Mm-hmm.
You told us, I think you said the WINS program yesterday? Near the end of your testimony, thought you were telling us
Yeah,
about.
the WIN, it's the job program in Mississippi. It's called the WIN Job Center. We found out through the article, because I was trying to find out, there was many people without jobs. And I knew that with all my experience, if it was difficult for me, I know it would be almost impossible for them. So I was trying to find out how can I help other people get trained. And I found out that the WIN program had a grant specifically for survivors, but I only met one survivor out of maybe 500, and I just met them Wednesday this week that ever participated or knew about that service. I went to unemployment, several people went. They never did tell us that there was a program to help us to further our education. So that too was a secret from the survivors.
So your testimony is that the Mississippi authorities did not tell you that they had grant money specifically for hurricane survivors from Louisiana?
Right, right.
But, okay, but you met one person in the 500 that you've known who actually did get the WINS money?
Right. She must have been in the right place at the right time.
And did, in any of your encounters with in Mississippi trying to get job training, did any of the representatives tell you that you were not able to get the money, or they just never told you about the program at all?
Both. Because once I found out about the program, I started going around to the churches where the survivors were, and I gave them all the information. The schools, I took copies of everything and handed out. And there was one lady that went that had every document. They wanted you to have an acceptance letter and so on and so forth, and she had that, and they told her the program had shut down. And that wasn't the case.
And how do you know that wasn't the case?
Because I had just went there to get that information for them. So what we decided to do, to take one area at a time, and with Red Cross, I would like to put this into evidence that we did meet with them to ask them, because there were cases that we had turned in since November for the means to recovery.
This is under the WINS program?
No.
Okay, I want to know, I want to focus on the WINS
Okay.
program. Okay.
And I have a document for that too that I could turn in, all what they said that we were qualified for, and they denied the girl of that. They told her no.
And you're telling us that they told her no because they claimed that the program was terminated?
Right. And they told me that the program had 2 more months to go.
Okay.
So yes, they did deny people of that.
Okay. Thank you. Any other questions?
And I just want to make one comment. A lot of the survivors actually think these programs don't exist because of how much the people are fighting to give you these services. To a lot of the older ones really thought I was making up the means to recovery, and they stopped coming. Some of the people with unemployment, they thought I was making this up because they went down there to ask for the service, and people were like, we don't know what you're talking about. Or like they put on recordings, if you're calling for the means to recovery, it's a hoax. So they actually have the survivors believing that we are lying to them. And it's so bizarre, you know. But this is how well they are lying to the survivors for AIDS. Now, we found out with Red Cross, from a Red Cross representative, I'm sitting in the picture with her, she told me that they used the money, the interest of the money, because they weren't getting a lot of donation to keep up and running, and that's why they were slow in distributing the means to recovery, and that's why they were angry with me from spreading it to other states. And it's ridiculous, but that's what and a lot of people have gotten rich off of stories from survivors.
Do you recall the name of the person who told you that?
Wilma Tate.
And she worked for the Red Cross?
She is contract with Red Cross, and all our cases go to her before they go to Virginia to be approved. Red Cross came into people's houses. If you apply for the money for furniture, we found out in Los Angeles and other places the qualification that you had to meet, and we've been trying to figure out what qualify us for this money for months. Come to find out, you had to make $18,000 and above. These people were not questioned like in Mississippi. They want to come out to your house and see if you have any furniture, if you request furniture. If you request a car, you have to prove that you have a driver's license, but we asked them, if this money is for the survivors, help them to get a license, because in Mississippi, the bus service does not run at night. It does not go everywhere. They even moved the job service from in the middle of the city all the way maybe about, I would say about 50 miles, and there's no bus to get there. So it's almost like an impossible situation to win. So I would like to turn this over, that we did try to talk with them, and they gave us empty promises. Even today, some of the people that filed for the means to recovery since November have not been looked at. Case managers, Terry Lockhart, stole some of the money from the survivor.
Terry Lockhart works for the Red Cross?
Works for Catholic Charity.
For Catholic Charities, okay.
And he was fired, and all his cases was frozen. And so that had nothing to do with us. So it's just a lot of the things that, and most people give up. They just give up. A month ago, we literally had to go on.
I'm sorry, but I'm going to interrupt you only because this segment is only to address questions from the jurors, and we're on a tight time frame. Okay. Unless there's any more questions from the jurors. Thank you very much.
Thank you, and I'll pass this up. Madam Justice, what number are we up to on, because I hadn't anticipated.
You want to take a look at it and decide if, in fact, you want to put it in evidence first?
Yes, I've looked at it. It's just a newspaper
That would be
article.
exhibit number 5. Well, hold
No.
on. No, it's not.
It's more than 5.
It's for the win, the job center.
That would be, on my count, that would be exhibit number 5.
Okay, well, why don't we do this? I think this might be more than 5, so we can do like, why don't we do just, I'll just set it at Exhibit 2-1, meaning the second day.
Exhibit, well, no. You can make it 2A.
2A, okay, that's great. Okay. Thank you again.
And tell us again what that is, please.
Well, this is an article from the Jackson Advocate concerning aid and the Red Cross, and then there's an attachment to it, which is an article, information concerning the Mississippi Wind Job Center for Katrina survivors. So it's 2 exhibits.
Okay.
Your Honors, he's not going to be here. And I asked for her and Jerry, but I don't see her. Okay. At this point, I'd like to enter into evidence a few exhibits that are necessary. Under the subject area of indigenous rights, Attorney Afia Wangaza will be submitting at a later date, and I think this would be Exhibit 1B, treaty rights. There is another category.
Excuse me, Counselor, do
Yes.
we already have an Exhibit 1A under indigenous rights?
This would be 1B.
I'm asking you, did you already submit, or was Exhibit 1A already submitted?
She submitted Exhibit 1. That was, I think, a thick package that had multiple documents that you had requested some clarity on.
Okay.
It was, I think it had a gem clip on it.
Okay.
I would like to, I guess at this point, create another category, and I would consider this category to be Gulf Coast data, and I have 2 exhibits to enter in that regard.
Does this come under a particular sector?
In many respects, what it does is based on the document itself. It covers many of the sectors that have already been presented. And I'll read to you the areas where there's actually indexed information.
Not necessary. I just want to know if you were submitting it under a particular sector.
No.
But you're saying it refers to several sectors.
It refers to, I would argue, all of the sectors that we've addressed today.
Why don't we call it a judge's exhibit so we don't get it confused under the other sectors?
Okay. Would you like to at least know the names of the documents?
Is it packaged in one package?
Yes. They're booklets, yes.
Not necessary. I'm concerned about time. So
Okay.
if it's not required, if you just have it packaged together, we'll know that's the judicial exhibits. Okay?
Okay, that'll be fine. The other item is I want you to be aware of the fact that we'll be submitting video testimony of survivors, and all of them have been sworn. The last area we have for your benefit, in the 14th of April of this year, there was a tribunal held in Atlanta, Georgia. So we're going to submit the transcript of that tribunal as well as the opinions of the 4 justices that had written opinions.
I'm going to take that under advisement.
Yes. At this point, Your Honor, we would like to invite any amicus presentations by the conveners should they elect to do so, and I would just request that they limit their remarks to 5 minutes.
What happened to 3?
3 minutes, please. So are there any conveners that would like to?
Merci. Mesdames et messieurs, bonjour.
Thank you, sisters and brothers.
En premier lieu, je voudrais exprimer toute ma gratitude de m'avoir permis d'être présente ici, à
First,
ce
I'd like to
tribunal.
express my greatest gratitude for having allowed me to be here among you at this tribunal.
D'abord parce que la réalité dépasse la fiction dans ce que nous avons vu et entendu.
First, first, because the reality goes way beyond any fiction from what we've seen.
Hier, nous avons visité une ville fantôme,
Yesterday, we visited a ghost city,
en majeure partie vide.
majority of it empty.
Et je crois que cela a aggravé la blessure qui existe déjà depuis août 2005.
And that has only added salt to the wound that first began in August of 2005.
Oui, dans chacun d'entre nous, la part d'humanité qu'il recèle a été agressée.
Yes, for all of us, our humanity was assaulted.
Moi qui viens d'un pays d'Afrique, je n'ai jamais vu une telle désolation.
I, who come from a country in Africa, have never seen such desolation.
Pas même après les séismes et les inondations qui ont ravagé plusieurs fois mon pays.
Not even after the earthquakes and inundations that ravaged many times my own country.
Et la vérité qui s'est imposée d'elle-même, c'est qu'il s'agit d'un nettoyage ethnique.
And the reality which struck me fully was that what's involved here is ethnic cleansing,
C'est-à-dire délibéré, systématique.
systematic and deliberate.
Alors, oui, je suis solidaire.
So yes, I am in solidarity.
Solidaire envers tous les rescapés, dont les témoins que nous avons entendus ici.
With all the survivors whose testimonies we heard here today.
Solidaire parce que je viens d'Afrique.
Solidarity in solidarity because I come from Africa.
Un continent qui va à la dérive,
A continent that's it's in a downfall,
et dont le sort est lié directement à celui de la composante noire du peuple américain.
and whose fate is directly linked to the black people in this country.
Je suis solidaire parce qu'il n'est pas permis que 2 ans plus tard, le cauchemar puisse continuer et s'aggraver.
I'm in solidarity because it is no longer possible to allow this nightmare to continue.
Je suis solidaire parce que, au fil des témoignages et des interventions, revenaient des mots de guerre.
And because throughout the testimonies, war cries came forward.
Des mots que nous avons connus pour des pays disloqués, c'est-à-dire pour le peuple palestinien, à savoir le droit au retour.
Slogans and calls that came forward that we know in our own countries, for example, from Palestine, the right to return.
Ici, comme pour le peuple palestinien, je voudrais affirmer que le droit au retour est un droit imprescriptible et inaliénable.
So here, as I have done in relation to Palestine, I want to say that the right to return is inalienable.
Je suis solidaire parce que, appartenant au mouvement ouvrier, on m'a appris dès le départ qu'il fallait tout de suite partir à la rescousse de ceux qui sont les plus vulnérables parmi nous.
And also because coming from the workers' movement as I do, I've always learned that those of us have to come to the support of those the most vulnerable among us.
Alors je suis doublement solidaire avec les femmes parmi les rescapés.
So I am doubly in solidarity with the women among the survivors.
Parce qu'elles sont dans une situation plus vulnérable que la mienne.
Because they're in a situation far more vulnerable than mine.
Qu'elles ont été touchées dans tout ce qu'elles possèdent, comme liens sociaux, comme construction pour toute la vie.
They are the most effective in every aspect of their being, of their lives, and their own ability to carry forth with our generations.
Militante des droits des femmes,
As a women's rights
j'alerterai
activist,
partout, j'alerterai sur cette double discrimination
I will alert everyone to this
que
double
subissent les femmes de
discrimination
Nouvelle-Orléans, les femmes noires,
that affects the black women of New Orleans,
et qui n'a rien à envier à celles que subissent les femmes palestiniennes dans les frontières de 48.
and which is no different than the oppression faced by Palestinian women living within the borders of 48.
Alors, je suis très fier et très honoré d'avoir été parmi vous.
I'm very honored and proud to have been here among you.
Et j'exprime toute ma gratitude
And I'd like to express my full
à toutes
gratitude
celles et tous ceux
to all of those
qui nous ont permis, par leur résistance, de nous ressourcer nous aussi.
who, because of their resistance, have allowed us to be re-energized as well.
Ils sont les dignes héritiers de leurs ancêtres, de nos ancêtres.
They are the proud inheritors or continuators of our ancestors.
Si vous en êtes d'accord,
If you are in
je
agreement,
serai votre porte-parole,
I will be your spokesperson.
votre porte-parole dans mon pays,
In my country,
au Maghreb, l'Afrique du Nord,
throughout all of Northern Africa,
et au-delà, dans les pays du Moyen-Orient.
and beyond that, in the countries of the Middle East.
Je rendrai compte de ce qui s'est passé
I will
réellement.
explain what has happened here
Preuve
in
à l'appui.
truth, with all the facts to support me.
J'informerai du verdict et de toutes les décisions qui seront prises.
I will inform of the verdict and all of the decisions that you take here.
Le groupe parlementaire de mon pays
The parliamentary groups in my country
organisera des activités parlementaires pour informer l'opinion publique de mon pays.
will organize parliamentary forums and activities to inform our entire nation.
Et je souscris à la proposition de mon collègue brésilien
And I support the proposal from my Brazilian
concernant notre
comrade.
responsabilité en tant qu'élus
Is a responsibility that we have as elected officials
de répercuter
to
ces souffrances et
reverberate this
d'organiser
suffering
la mobilisation à l'échelle
and to
internationale.
organize mobilizations on a world scale.
Pourrions-nous penser d'ores et déjà à une conférence parlementaire internationale?
Could we, for example, conceive of organizing an international parliamentary conference?
Elle pourrait se tenir au Brésil
It could be held in Brazil
ou alors dans mon pays.
or in Algeria.
Alors oui,
So
mesdames et
yes,
messieurs,
sisters and brothers,
chères sœurs, chers frères,
sisters and brothers, ladies and
au
gentlemen,
moment où nous terminons bien sûr nos travaux,
at the moment when we conclude here our work,
alors je voudrais rappeler
I would
les
like to-
propos d'un très très grand penseur libanais au début du siècle dernier.
I'd like to recall the words of a very well-known Lebanese author of a century ago.
Khalil Gibran avait écrit
Khalil Gibran wrote,
« Malheur à toute nation dont une composante prétend être toute la nation.
shame on a nation when one component seeks to claim to be the entire nation.
Mais nous ne voulons pas le malheur d'aucune nation.
And we don't want to have any nation be harmed. »
Alors, un autre poète de ma région,
Another poet from my region,
qui s'appelle Aboul Qasim Shabi,
Abul Qasim Hashabi,
avait dit au sujet de nos indépendances nationales,
said in relation to our national independence,
lorsque le peuple décide un jour de vivre,
when the people decide one day that they should live,
alors la nuit doit disparaître,
the night will disappear,
l'aube doit se lever
dawn will come,
et les chaînes se briser.
and the chains will be broken.
Ensemble, la main dans la main,
Together, hand in hand,
par-delà nos différences et nos opinions,
beyond our differences and our differences of opinion,
nous devons affirmer aujourd'hui
we have to affirm today
le droit
the right
pour le peuple noir
for the
de
black
vivre,
people in this country to live.
notre droit à nous tous de vivre dans la dignité,
The right of all of us to live in dignity,
dans le respect
respectful,
du produit de notre travail,
and on the basis of the product of our own labor.
dans un monde débarrassé de toute oppression et de toute
In a
exploitation.
world free from all oppression and exploitation,
Nous devons en un mot décréter que l'avenir est à nous. Je vous
we
remercie.
should end by saying future is ours. Thank you very much.
I will be extremely brief. I'm not Julius Caesar, but I'll say we came, we saw, we suffered. And I think this suffering, while it's much too much, is the suffering which we should carry to all our country, all our countries, and urge all our peoples to stand up and defend our right to live and set up the organizations through which we can defend ourselves. Thank you very much.
Bem, são muitas palavras,
I have many words,
mas tem que resumir.
but I have to be brief.
Desses 5 dias,
Of these 5 days,
teria muito a dizer.
there is much to say.
Mas como co-presidente deste tribunal,
As a co-convener of this tribunal,
em nome da delegação do Brasil,
in name of the Brazilian delegation,
quero celebrar,
I want to commemorate,
no coroamento deste evento,
at the end of this event,
algumas considerações.
some things that have gone on.
Em primeiro lugar,
In first place,
Pedir licença à nossa ancestralidade,
I would like to ask permission from our ancestors,
força e inspiração necessárias aos nossos heróis e heroínas negras
the strength from our heroes, our black heroes,
que lutaram por justiça social
that fought for social justice
no mundo
in a world
tão desejada pelos nossos antepassados, em tempos bem próximos, será a nossa vitória.
A world so desired by our ancestors will be ours in the near future.
Inspirada na filosofia da República Negra de Quilombos,
Inspired by the philosophy of the Black Republic of Quilombos in Brazil,
que todos que lutaram por liberdade
that all who fought for liberty and freedom
se juntem,
unite,
negros, índios e brancos pobres.
blacks, whites, and native populations.
A minha segunda consideração
My second
é um apelo.
conclusion is an appeal.
Eu vim do Brasil,
I came from Brazil,
onde resido numa república negra,
where I live in a black republic,
que é a Bahia,
that is Bahia,
que é a segunda depois da África.
that is the second largest other than Africa.
Por tudo que eu vi
From all that I've seen
dos sobreviventes do furacão Katrina,
of the Katrina survivors,
depois e antes,
before and after,
como o nosso povo negro é tratado.
how our black people are treated.
Voltaremos para o nosso país na certeza
I will go back to my country with this certainty
que para nós, trabalhadores e trabalhadoras negros,
that for us, black workers,
e todos que abraçam a causa da justiça social,
and all those who embrace the cause of social justice,
não existem fronteiras.
there are no frontiers, there are no separations between us.
E tínhamos a certeza que a partir de todos os depoimentos aqui que nós assistimos,
And we are certain, after all the testimony that we witnessed here,
o reconhecimento das áreas depois de 2 anos,
that recognizing that
nós
after
só
2
temos
years, we
um
only
inimigo
have
comum,
one common enemy,
que é quebrar as correntes da escravidão,
and we must break the chains of slavery,
que é o capitalismo e os grandes impérios.
and our enemy is the capitalism of the large empires.
E é com muita emoção
It is with much emotion
que eu quero dizer a vocês
that I want to say to you
que esse tribunal teve um grande poder.
that this tribunal was incredibly powerful.
O poder
The
do
power
nosso ajuntamento,
of our unity,
porque nós não temos fronteira.
because there are no frontiers between us, there are no boundaries between us.
E para que isso se materialize
And for this to continue and manifest itself
na prática e na ação revolucionária,
in practice and in revolutionary action,
como a gente dizia um dos nossos pensadores intelectuais negros,
as one of our great Afro-Brazilian thinkers said,
por tudo que presenciamos, nós estamos no mundo por nossa própria conta.
for all that we've seen, we are in this world.
E para isso, eu concluindo, quero dizer a vocês o seguinte:
And to
Mas-
conclude, I want to say to you the following.
no segundo ano eu não tenho dúvida
I have no doubt in the second year
que nós vamos conviver com a pedagogia da diferença,
that we are going to have to live with the pedagogy of difference,
e eu as proponho. A frente única dos
propose
povos
to
no
you.
mundo,
that we create a united front of all the poor people in the world.
nós estamos aqui, gostaria de levantar nossa delegação, meus dois companheiros que são parlamentares
I would like
do
the-
Partido dos
The
Trabalhadores,
two Brazilians who are Congress people with the Workers' Party of Brazil,
nossos companheiros do Movimento Negro que aqui estão, gostaria que vocês levantassem a delegação, que para mim foi um grande orgulho,
the Brazilian delegation was a
tribunal,
source of great pride to
com o
me.
presidente, e dizer que a nossa missão
Our mission here
é dar conhecimento ao mundo. Está aqui também o nosso jovem do movimento estudantil.
This is also a young man from the student movement in
Se
Brazil.
entrelaçar
And we
com o
wanna-
mundo
we
e no
wanna-
Brasil.
we
Nós
wanna
temos
join
uma
the world
tarefa
and
dos
Brazil.
estados que aqui não estão presentes.
We have a job to do with the states that are not
Nós
present here.
socializarmos as resoluções aqui que vão ser tiradas.
We will take the resolutions that were taken here and put them into action.
A consciência de se incorporar no ACIT, que é o Acordo Internacional dos Trabalhadores e Trabalhadoras,
We would like to create a national accord of workers,
e o ponto de apoio da organização interna deste país é construir seu próprio instrumento, que é o Partido da Reconstrução,
we need to create a reconstruction party in this country
desde já a construção do
as of
Comitê
now,
da Unidade dos Oprimidos.
that will also be part of a committee
E por
of the
fim-
unified of the oppressed people.
eu tenho a certeza que esse tribunal
I'm
vai
sure
tirar
that this
resoluções, cumpriu o seu objetivo, foi o grande poder,
I'm
do
I'm sure that
direito à
this tribunal
reconstrução,
will achieve its goals,
organizar o povo
that will
desse
organize the
território,
people in this country
para
to
obrigar que o governo
make
cumpra a
sure
responsabilidade
that the government fulfills its obligations and responsibilities,
que é o direito à reconstrução,
that is the right to return and
o
rebuild,
direito ao retorno à sua cidade,
the right to
à
return
sua
to your
casa,
city, to your
por tudo que
home.
pude assistir. Meu muito obrigada,
I
meu
thank you
muito
very much for
obrigada,
everything
um
that I was
axé
able to
e a
watch,
força de
and great blessings
muito
to
da
you.
resistência, da ousadia
And the
que
strength to you to
tiveram,
resist.
na verdade, os nossos antepassados. Um muito obrigado. Eu tenho
And to
certeza
have the courage
que o
that our
terceiro ano
ancestors
será
had.
a nossa grande vitória,
The
que é a
third
unidade de
year
todos nós.
will be the great
Axé,
victory, which is the
axé,
unity of us
axé.
all. Blessings, blessings, blessings.